When dealing with an HVAC unit above a suspended ceiling and a condensate pump with a cord and plug, it's important to understand the options available according to electrical codes. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, addresses the use of flexible cords and cables. Section 400.7 allows the use of cord and plug connections in specific applications, while Section 400.8 outlines uses that are not permitted. Firstly, consider using a cord and plug arrangement while adhering to Section 400.7 of the NEC. Install the condensation pump above the suspended ceiling, ensuring it remains within sight from the accessible space where the cord and plug are located. It's important to ensure the pump is supported by a listed suspension system or the ceiling grid, providing secure and reliable support. Keep the cord and plug readily accessible for maintenance and replacement. This accessibility is crucial for quick repairs or component swaps without major disassembly. Secondly, explore the option of a hard-wired connection, in accordance with Section 400.8. If the pump is not available without a cord, you can remove the cord and hardwire the pump directly to the electrical system. Ensure that the electrical connections are made in accordance with Section 400.8 and that the pump is properly grounded. Proper grounding is essential for safety and to prevent electrical hazards. Thirdly, consider installing a convenience outlet as outlined in Section 400.9 of the NEC. Install a convenience outlet above the suspended ceiling, ensuring it is within sight from the accessible space where the pump is located. Plug the pump into the outlet using a cord that meets the requirements of Section 400.9. Ensure that the outlet is rated for the current draw of the pump and that the plug is of the correct type and size. Using the correct outlet and plug is crucial for preventing overloads and ensuring safe operation. As an alternative solution, consider using a pump equipped with a watertight electrical connection. These pumps can be hardwired directly to the electrical system without the need for a cord and plug. This option provides a more permanent and secure connection, reducing the risk of accidental disconnection or damage to the cord. Additional considerations include consulting with the pump manufacturer for specific installation instructions and any limitations on cord and plug arrangements. Manufacturers often provide detailed guidelines that are specific to their product. Comply with all applicable building and fire codes to ensure the installation meets safety standards. Ensure that the installation is performed by a qualified electrician. A qualified electrician has the expertise to perform the work safely and in compliance with electrical codes. When determining which method to use, consider these additional points. When using a flexible cord for fixed wiring, it is crucial to consider the specific conditions of use and ensure compliance with the NEC. Flexible cords, while offering convenience, are subject to limitations to ensure safety and prevent electrical hazards. The NEC outlines specific requirements for the proper use of flexible cords, including restrictions on their use in certain applications. One critical aspect is the ampacity of the flexible cord, which must be suitable for the connected load. The ampacity is the current carrying capacity of the cord, and it must be sufficient to handle the current drawn by the equipment it powers. If the cord's ampacity is too low, it can overheat, leading to insulation damage and potentially causing a fire. Secondly, the length of the flexible cord should be kept to a minimum to reduce voltage drop and prevent overloading. Excessive cord length can cause a significant voltage drop, which can affect the performance of the connected equipment. Additionally, long cords are more susceptible to physical damage and can pose a tripping hazard. Thirdly, the routing and support of the flexible cord are important to prevent mechanical stress and damage. The cord should be routed in a way that avoids sharp bends, abrasion, and excessive tension. Proper support, such as using cable ties or clamps, can help prevent the cord from sagging or being pulled, which can damage the conductors and insulation. Fourthly, the termination of the flexible cord at both the supply and load ends must be done correctly to ensure a secure and reliable connection. The cord's conductors should be properly connected to the terminals of the receptacle or equipment, and the connections should be tightened to prevent loosening. Loose connections can cause arcing, overheating, and potentially lead to a fire. Fifthly, flexible cords should not be used as a substitute for fixed wiring or run through walls, ceilings, or floors. Flexible cords are designed for temporary connections and should not be used as a permanent wiring method. Running cords through building structures can create a fire hazard and violate electrical codes. Sixthly, flexible cords should be protected from physical damage, such as being pinched, crushed, or cut. Cords that are exposed to physical abuse are more likely to fail, creating a shock hazard or causing a fire. Protective measures, such as using cord protectors or routing cords in a safe location, can help prevent damage. Seventh, flexible cords should be regularly inspected for signs of wear, damage, or deterioration. Regular inspections can help identify potential problems before they become serious hazards. Damaged cords should be repaired or replaced immediately to prevent electrical shocks or fires. Additionally, flexible cords used in damp or wet locations must be listed for wet locations to ensure they are suitable for the environment. Wet location cords are designed with moisture-resistant insulation and other features to prevent electrical leakage and corrosion. Using the wrong type of cord in a damp or wet location can create a shock hazard. When considering the use of flexible cords for specific applications, it is essential to consult the applicable codes and standards to ensure compliance. The NEC provides detailed requirements for the use of flexible cords in various situations, and compliance with these requirements is necessary to ensure safety. In summary, using flexible cords for fixed wiring requires careful consideration of the specific conditions of use and compliance with applicable codes and standards. The ampacity, length, routing, termination, protection, inspection, and environmental suitability of the cord must all be addressed to ensure a safe and reliable electrical connection. Grounding ensures that non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment are connected to the earth, providing a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. This connection allows overcurrent protective devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses, to quickly trip and de-energize the circuit in the event of a ground fault. Proper grounding is essential for preventing electrical shocks, reducing the risk of fires, and protecting equipment from damage. There are several methods for achieving effective grounding, including using grounding conductors, bonding equipment, and establishing a ground electrode system. Grounding conductors are wires that connect the non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment to the grounding system. Bonding involves connecting different metal parts of the electrical system together to create a common ground. A ground electrode system typically consists of one or more grounding rods or plates buried in the earth, providing a direct connection to the earth. The size of the grounding conductor is determined by the size of the circuit conductors and the requirements of the NEC. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum size of grounding conductors based on the size of the circuit conductors. Using an undersized grounding conductor can reduce its effectiveness and increase the risk of electrical hazards. Properly installed and maintained grounding systems are essential for ensuring electrical safety. Regular inspections and testing of grounding systems can help identify potential problems such as loose connections, corrosion, or damaged grounding conductors. Addressing these problems promptly can prevent electrical shocks, reduce the risk of fires, and protect equipment from damage. In addition to grounding, bonding is another important aspect of electrical safety. Bonding involves connecting different metal parts of the electrical system together to create a common ground. This helps to equalize the voltage potential between different metal parts, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Bonding is particularly important in areas where there is a risk of stray currents, such as near swimming pools or spas. Stray currents can cause corrosion of metal parts and create a shock hazard. Bonding all metal parts together helps to minimize the voltage potential between them, reducing the risk of stray current problems. The NEC provides detailed requirements for bonding electrical systems. These requirements specify the types of bonding conductors to use, the methods for making connections, and the locations where bonding is required. Compliance with these requirements is essential for ensuring electrical safety. In summary, grounding and bonding are critical aspects of electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, while bonding helps to equalize the voltage potential between different metal parts. Properly installed and maintained grounding and bonding systems are essential for preventing electrical shocks, reducing the risk of fires, and protecting equipment from damage. When selecting overcurrent protection, it is essential to consider the type of circuit, the characteristics of the load, and the applicable codes and standards. The NEC provides detailed requirements for overcurrent protection, including the types of devices to use, the sizing of the devices, and the installation requirements. Firstly, circuit breakers are electromechanical devices that automatically interrupt the flow of current when a fault is detected. Circuit breakers are commonly used in residential, commercial, and industrial applications. They offer several advantages, including the ability to be reset after a fault, the ability to provide overload protection, and the ability to provide short-circuit protection. Secondly, fuses are overcurrent protection devices that contain a fusible link that melts and opens the circuit when the current exceeds a predetermined level. Fuses are available in a wide range of types and sizes, and they are commonly used in applications where a high degree of reliability is required. Fuses offer several advantages, including their simplicity, their low cost, and their ability to provide fast-acting protection. Thirdly, selecting the correct size of overcurrent protection device is essential for ensuring proper protection. The size of the device should be based on the ampacity of the circuit conductors and the characteristics of the load. The NEC provides tables that specify the maximum size of overcurrent protection devices based on the ampacity of the circuit conductors. Fourth, overcurrent protection devices should be installed in readily accessible locations. This allows for easy inspection, testing, and replacement of the devices. The NEC requires that overcurrent protection devices be installed in locations that are protected from physical damage and environmental conditions. Fifth, overcurrent protection devices should be properly maintained to ensure their reliability. Regular inspections and testing of the devices can help identify potential problems such as loose connections, corrosion, or damaged components. Addressing these problems promptly can prevent overcurrents from occurring and protect equipment from damage. Compliance with these requirements is essential for ensuring electrical safety. In summary, overcurrent protection is a critical aspect of electrical safety. Proper selection, installation, and maintenance of overcurrent protection devices are essential for preventing overcurrents from occurring and protecting equipment from damage. When considering the installation of electrical equipment above suspended ceilings, there are several key factors to keep in mind to ensure safety and compliance with electrical codes. Suspended ceilings, also known as drop ceilings, are commonly used in commercial and industrial buildings to conceal wiring, ductwork, and other building services. However, they can also create unique challenges for electrical installations. Firstly, access to electrical equipment installed above suspended ceilings is a critical consideration. The NEC requires that electrical equipment be readily accessible for inspection, maintenance, and repair. This means that the equipment must be accessible without the need to remove or damage the ceiling. Secondly, proper support and securing of electrical equipment above suspended ceilings is essential for safety. The equipment should be securely fastened to the built-in structure or to a listed support system. The support system should be capable of supporting the weight of the equipment and any additional loads that may be imposed on it. Thirdly, wiring methods above suspended ceilings must comply with the requirements of the NEC. The NEC specifies the types of wiring methods that are permitted in different types of locations. Wiring above suspended ceilings is typically considered to be a concealed location, and the wiring methods must be suitable for this type of environment. Fourthly, fire stopping is another important consideration when installing electrical equipment above suspended ceilings. Fire stopping is the process of sealing openings in walls and ceilings to prevent the spread of fire and smoke. The NEC requires that fire stopping be maintained when electrical equipment is installed above suspended ceilings. Fifth, clearance around electrical equipment above suspended ceilings is necessary to provide adequate ventilation and prevent overheating. The NEC specifies minimum clearance requirements for different types of equipment. These requirements should be followed to ensure that the equipment operates safely and reliably. 6. Lighting above suspended ceilings should be installed in accordance with the requirements of the NEC. The NEC specifies the types of lighting fixtures that are permitted in different types of locations. Lighting above suspended ceilings should be installed in a way that minimizes the risk of fire and electrical shock. Lastly, labeling of electrical equipment above suspended ceilings is required by the NEC. The equipment should be labeled with its voltage, amperage, and other important information. This helps to ensure that the equipment is properly identified and the qualified personnel can safely work on it. The location of Pismo Beach may have specific regulations, so compliance with local codes is required. In summary, installing electrical equipment above suspended ceilings requires careful consideration of several factors, including access, support, wiring methods, fire stopping, clearance, lighting, and labeling. Following these guidelines can help to ensure that the installation is safe, compliant with electrical codes, and reliable.